Well, Accel and Google's AI Futures Fund have come together to launch the Atoms AI Cohort 2026, which is the first of its kind partnership that's aimed at backing frontier AI startups from day zero. Now, these two are going to co-invest up to $2 million per startup, marking one of the largest early-stage capital commitments in India's AI ecosystem. Now, beyond capital, the founders will also gain access to Google's DeepMind research, Gemini APIs, compute credits worth about $350,000, global mentorship, and immersion in London and the Bay Area. The goal is to enable Indian and diaspora founders to build globally relevant AI companies from day one. Joining us now are Priyank Swaroop, partner at Accel, and Jonathan Silber, co-founder and director of Google AI Futures Fund, to break down what this means for India, for the startup ecosystem, and for the global AI race. Jonathan and Priyank, both of you, thanks so much for your time here on Startup Street. Jonathan, to start with you, why India? Why now? Google AI Futures Fund has worked with founders globally, but this is one of your most focused country-level commitments. What made India stand out as a market where AI innovation could meaningfully scale?
First, thank you for having us. I really appreciate the opportunity. So why India? Fantastic question. Look, India has an incredible history of innovation, and we firmly believe that its founders will play a leading role in responsibly defining the next era of global technology. And that's why we sought out the most renowned pre-seed scaling program in the country with Accel Atoms. This is also the Future Fund's first such collaboration anywhere in the world. And we chose India for that reason. Google has been committed to the country's journey to digital transformation for quite a while. Our partnerships have enabled significant multi-billion-dollar commitments starting with infrastructure. As you're aware, we had a $10 billion India digitization fund, most recently a $15 billion AI data center investment to provide gigawatt scale compute. And this foundation allows us to really deliver specialized AI models for local needs. For instance, Gemma 3 supports 6 Indian languages. And by co-investing with Accel and standing up this joint cohort, we're really building on this commitment, directly backing the country's most promising AI talent from the very beginning to fuel the next wave of AI innovation from India for the world. And we're hoping that this program creates India's next breakthrough AI startup.
Well, we all want to see that. And Priyank, up to $2 million commitment on day zero combined across Accel and Google. It's not very typical for early stage India. Why did you decide founders now need this kind of upfront capital to build frontier AI companies?
First of all, Ritu, thank you for having me on the show. And this is the 5th version of Accel Atoms. And when we started the program, we were giving $250,000 to companies as investment. But over the period of time, and especially in the AI world, we realized that it is important for companies to compete very fast and grow very fast. And for that reason, we upsized the check. And thankfully, we had partners with Google DeepMind and AI Futures Fund. And that has been incredible to see, because now companies not only get the money, but they also get expertise working closely with Google DeepMind researchers. And, we are hoping this makes, like John said, fantastic companies in India.
Well, Jonathan, you are matching Accel dollar for dollar, and that sort of signals strong conviction. What gave you that confidence that, the founders here that you've seen, interacted with, can they build globally competitive AI companies, not just strong domestic ones?
Yeah, it's a great question. Look, we've been investing now for about 6 months. This is a relatively new initiative for Google. And in that period, we've invested in north of 30 companies to date. Some of those are very large names in the AI field, like Replit or Harvey or Synthesia. But we've also been investing in a handful of India-based startups as well, companies like Emergent and TuneSutra and Stan and Presentations.ai. And based off of the quality of the teams that we're meeting, the aspirations and the vision, we knew that there was something there, and that made us really want to double click and double down on these companies and make a really concerted push and effort to find really the next great startups to come from the world. And we think many of those are going to come from India.
All right. Priyank, Accel Atoms has now backed more than 40 companies in there's been some strong follow-on funding with those as well. But what are some of the lessons you've drawn from these previous cohorts that shaped how you designed this new AI-centric one?
So that's a very good question. So just to set some context, we have funded 40 companies that have raised close to $300 million in the last few years. And the lessons, I think, were multifold. One was to just focus on one particular industry. So we have done Atoms Industry 5.0 in the past. We have done Atoms X. We have done Atoms for Bharat. And then the whole idea is the cohort comes together solving similar kind of problems. They're trying to understand similar kind of technologies they are using. So they get a lot of good mentorship. And we basically realize for AI, we need a deep subject matter expert, which we found as a partner in Google.
All right. Jonathan, you're going to give founders early access to Gemini, to DeepMind models, experimental APIs. But how do you ensure that, you sort of balance giving startups the cutting edge tools that you're giving while ensuring there's responsible and safe deployment, especially because, India is a pretty fast scaling market?
One of the big components of this program is, yes, we're providing financial fuel, which includes, up to $2 million in co-investment from Accel and Google. We're providing them with, massive technical resources, up to $350,000 in cloud compute. But the real benefit, I believe, of the program is that these companies are getting early access to our models before many others in the world, so that we can kind of collaborate and co-build with them. So it's not just that we're handing them these models, but we're bringing in experts from Google DeepMind and from Google Labs, both researchers and PMs and engineers and go-to-market specialists, so that we can work with them and give them access to Gemini for reasoning and Imagen for image creation and Veo for video creation and so on and so on. And we can work with them to build targeted one-on-one plans to really help elevate their business and provide them with the opportunity that they need in order to build responsibly, leveraging these models. So the level of hands-on support that they're going to get from the team here is really quite strong. And we're here to coach them and guide them along the way whenever they need that support.
Well, Jonathan, just continuing on that, the program also requires at least one Gemini integration, but it also says that founders have the flexibility in model choice. Why introduce both this nudge and the open door? What's the thinking behind that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So look, we right now, Google just released a new model. This is Gemini 3, and as of today, it's doing quite well. Very strong market reception. It's on top of the charts, and it's really state-of-the-art across the board. But this is a highly competitive market, and startup founders are oftentimes multi-cloud and they're multi-model. And we don't want to stand in their way, because each use case is different. And sometimes a Google model might perform best in one use case, and then an OpenAI or Anthropic or other models might perform better in another. So we don't want to twist any startups' arms and force them to only leverage the Google ecosystem. We're hoping that our models stand on their own, and that independently of us, these startup founders will experience what Google AI has to offer, and they will more and more and increasingly leverage our models once they find that they have great capability and they're able to provide really boundary-pushing features and functionality for their core use cases. So we really don't want to get in their way. We want to enable them to use whatever options they see best fit for building out their business.
Well, that's interesting, Jonathan, given that you very well could have made it compulsory, given that you're signing the check, or at least half of it. But Priyank, AI compute is, cited often as one of the biggest constraints. How big a differentiator to your mind is Google's $350,000 worth of compute credit and infrastructure access going to be when it comes to attracting the right kind of founders here?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I will just tell you what another founder told me when I was telling them about this. And he was like, oh, I get $350,000 additional with no dilution, and that takes care of my cloud costs for next year. And if they're fast scaling, Accel and Google are here to invest more in the company and support them more. So the founder is pretty happy about it. So that's a way to think about it. Yeah.
All right. Jonathan, just a broader picture. I know we've asked you this in some form or fashion, but from your vantage point, where do you think Indian founders have a genuine competitive edge, compared to the emerging AI startups we're seeing both in the Silicon Valley and China and other places?
from the conversations that we've had to date with a number of founders that are based in India, the spectrum is quite wide. Specific to this program, though, we're trying to narrow the focus on 4 different areas that we think Indian founders are uniquely positioned to deliver on well. And so we're backing founders across the full AI stack. We're looking at founders that are building in the future of coding, the future of productivity, the future of entertainment, and the future of creativity. I'll give you kind of a couple of examples from this stack. So on the future of coding, we're investing in the shift from engineering software to orchestrating it and really empowering a new generation of makers and creating 100x engineers. I mentioned before, one of the companies in our portfolio is Emergent, and we think that they're on the path to bringing this to life. On the other end of the spectrum, we have the future of creativity. So this is really investing in AI that we would say dramatically lowers the time, the cost, and the expertise required to create. And so effectively, it unlocks a new age of expression for everyone. We're seeing a lot of really interesting companies in India bringing this to life as well. For instance, Toon Sutra, a webtoons provider who's bringing over a great deal of IP from some Western markets and creating their own in the webtoons and comic space, and then bringing this into a UGC format in order to open it up to the masses after the core artists and IP holders are able to help them build foundation for the app. So we think that there's a great opportunity in these 4 areas for Indian founders to really lead the way.
All right, Priyank, finally, given the AI hype at an all-time high really around us, what sort of concrete indicators are you going to use to differentiate founders that are solving real hard problems from those that are simply just wrapping features around existing models?
I think it's a fantastic question. I think it's the hardest question to answer in today's world. And I think we are investing at very early stages in the program. So we are investing when the founders come with ideas. Some they don't have products. So we are really banking on the founders' creativity, thought process, how deeply they are thinking. Like John mentioned, we are also thinking about what impact it is going to have on billions of Indians, or is it going to be a globally competitive company? And the way we think about that is how much deep research the founder has done on their idea. We actually do research on our end. We talk to customers. Let's say you're building for enterprise. We'll go and talk to 5 or 6 different enterprise customers and say, does it make sense for you? We introduce those customers to the founders as well and see how the founders react, how the customers react. That is the kind of value that we want to bring so that the founder is solving the right problem. They don't spend their time solving for the wrong problem. And Accel has been investing in India for over 14 years. So we are investors in 200 plus companies. So at least building from India as well as building for India, we have a very good sense. We have a great network of Accel founders, Swiggy, Bluestone, Urban Company, Blackbuck, Flipkart. And we introduce these founders as mentors to all these companies as well, so that they can grow up much faster. They can get lessons learned from all these amazing founders and don't do the same mistakes. So during all of this process, we're evaluating the founders and understanding how the founder is thinking. And that's when we decide to jump in and invest.
All right, so you're going to put the might of your ecosystem behind investigating the kind of real problems that these founders are going to be solving for. But on that note, Priyank and Jonathan, both of you, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you both join us here on Startup Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, on that note, we're going to wrap up this edition of Startup Street. Many thanks for joining in, but stay with us. More news and updates will continue after this break.